this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill no
Wait a
one.
second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the world. I'm SeptumSin. This is Kotobuki Jake, and we're here to show you what they got.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got some fun stuff. Unfortunately, no Gundam. But let's show you something else that maybe you would like.
Monday passed without a word of love we had on Saturday. The weekend kiss, our innocence missed. I can't stop thinking of you. Tuesday's gone, you don't ring my phone. Wednesday, you don't look my way. I got the midweek heartache that's got me down in the dumps. 4 days before you held my hand and put your arms around my neck. Now you don't think of me, you won't even see me. It's times like these I wish I had time machine, a time machine. I wish I had a time machine, a time machine, a time machine, so I could go back in time when you loved me. When you loved me. There's no fancy way to say what we had last Saturday that felt so real on Lover's Lane was nothing more than a springtime fling. A springtime fling. I guess now that it's over, there's nothing I can do about it. It's times like these I wish I had time machine, a time machine. I wish I had a time machine, a time machine, a time machine, so I could go back in time when you loved me. When you loved me. Problem, it's times two. You love just one, I love two. My heart's a ball rolling down the alley, but I can't stop loving the both of you. I can't help it, one won't do. Do you love geometry? 'Cause both lines point to me. Oh Sally, Oh, Sue, imagine the things we could do. Oh, Sally, oh, Sue, could it be just the three of us? Could it be just the three of us? You want me to pick, you need me to choose, but for me, that just won't do. I got a solution, kind of a compromise. I'll split my heart directly in two. How about we just sleep on it, the three of us? How about we just sleep on it, just the three of us? How about we just sleep on it, just the three of us, just the three of us, just the three of us? Oh yeah. Oh Sally, oh Sue, imagine the things we could do. Oh Sally, oh Sue, could it be just the three of us? Oh Sally, oh Sue, imagine the things we could do. Oh Sally, oh Sue, could it be just the three of us? Could it be just the three of us? Be just the three of us.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, so I guess I'll go ahead and move things forward. Though we don't cover everything, I have a feeling that this is going to take a long time. So, let's go ahead and get ourselves right into it. Of course, we always try to rank what we cover. We always cover what we consider the highlights. Highlights can be particularly good or particularly bad, so long as they strike some sort of chord in us. And the highest and the lowest, we typically have two ratings, and then we average it, rounding down, unless it's at the highest, which is priority, meaning that we must have it. Oh yes, it will be mine. Eventually. Or hell no. We'll never own. I think that's self-explanatory. There's going to be one at least that I know that Jake is going to have a hell no in this.
Good times.
So let's see here. Of course, we have the yes please. Those are things that we've wish listed, that we have a price that we would get it for, and we are just keeping our eye on it. But if it were to go out of print, we could live with it. Curious? Well, curious. We're somewhat interested in it. It's nothing like big, but hey, if we happen at the right price, heck yeah. Meh. I'd buy that for $1 or for free. I'd be willing to check it out. But, no real interest. And then, of course, we've got all of our stuff together. We got a heck of a lot to cover, so I guess we'll get started. I'll go ahead and start us off this time around. And we are starting with 2012. Well,
all right.
When we were talking about Days of Future Past, this would definitely have been one of those. For those of you who are not quite old enough to remember, which I hope none of you are that young listening to this particular podcast or thing, but 2012, there were just always these predictions that the Mayan calendar, because it ended on 2012, that meant the end of the world. So I even had a 2012 end of the world party. It was fun. But no, the world obviously did not end. The 2020, actually, come to think of it, 2020 was a worse year than 2012.
Yeah, by far sight.
So, still, this is one of those Roland Emmerich films, and Roland Emmerich has a hate-on for the world, apparently.
He has a penchant for blowing shit up.
He certainly likes to destroy things, and we
Yes.
get to see a lot of that in this, as the world is ending. And it's a pretty decent film. I enjoy my copy of the Blu-ray. It's fairly nifty, but if you want to see all the destruction in 4K, you're getting that 4K release. So for me, looking at this, I consider it it would be one of those that I would consider yes please, but not one I would get as a priority.
I don't believe I actually own this. And I will admit, it's a movie that probably would look good on 4K, especially if they took the trouble to really, really clean it up and do a good transfer. So if you're going to get it, this is a good way to get it. I'm on the border between... I can't say it's an essential film. It is glorified trash in a lot of ways, but it has a great cast and it is fun, and I will get it eventually. So let's go with yes, please. Why not?
All right, we start on a high note.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So
Another one.
next up, another movie that's apparently getting a format upgrade, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time on Blu-ray for this.
It was on HD DVD.
Yeah, it was on DVD. But we have a film called Accepted, one of those college comedy sort of movies starring Justin Long and a whole bunch of other crazies. You got Jonah Hill's in there, and Blake Lively, Lewis Black plays one of the teachers. Or their quote-unquote teacher. And basically the gist of it is Bartleby Gaines, when every college turns him down, he decides to make one up. The South Harmon Institute of Technology. Think about that acronym for a minute. Where the students teach the classes. The dean lives in a trailer in the back, not a van down by the river, but it's pretty close. And Bartleby's on the way to scoring with the girl of his dreams. It is actually a fun movie. I know this was a favorite of one of my brothers. I enjoy it. I don't actually have it, so I will need to get it, and I'm glad that it's on Blu-ray now. This is a good way to get it in a slimmed down package, not that you really need it in high def. Again, I don't know if I can go yes please, because it's really not a great or classic film, but it is a lot of fun. I'm probably going to be slightly harsher on this one and go curious.
Well, my wife has it. I have never seen it. We were planning on watching it this weekend, but instead we finished a 2020 documentary In Search of Darkness 2. It's a 4-hour documentary, so, it took most of the weekend. But I do plan to watch it eventually. These type of films do amuse me, but not above the curious level, so it can stay where it is.
I will tell you this, it definitely meets the Adventureland standard.
Oh, well, that's good. $12.99 is not bad for that.
No, it's not.
When I said HD DVD, I mean like Blu-ray's competitor was out on originally.
Okay.
Look at that. Did you get any of those?
I didn't. Well, I don't think I did, but I really never paid attention.
Yeah, it was back in the beginning of the days. And it was a decent
Back
competitor.
in the day.
It was a decent competitor to Blu-ray. Had a pretty decent picture, but you had to have an Xbox to play this stuff.
Oh, well then, screw that.
All right, so Beach Babes from Beyond. When I talked with Dave, of course, Dave said that he did have this on VHS, so it's getting a Blu-ray release. Unfortunately, it looks like instead of next week, it's February 9th, but we'll be talking about this a little bit later. I'm going to save any in-depth discussion for when it does get ready to come out.
Okay.
So we'll just do a basic sight unseen rating on this. And this puts me at curious.
I am curious. And I'll go into more details if you're sure, because I noticed some stuff got pushed back to this week that's not on the list. I'm thinking specifically of that Battle Athletes release.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I
if
see
we're
we
definitely
covered that one in depth last time, so...
Yeah, so we'll do this one when it comes back. Good times.
Yep. All right, so...
All right. So we have a marquee double feature. A couple of films by director Alan Rudolph, who I looked through his filmography, and apparently the only thing I've seen is his one acting credit, where he plays someone in Robert Altman's The Player. But in this one, he got Julie Christie on 1997 Best Actress nomination for Afterglow, which also features Nick Nolte, Laura Flynn Boyle, and some others. And then much more recently, he has this film here, Ray Meets Helen, which is kind of a nondescript and uninteresting title, but, you know, whatever. And that one with Keith Davis, Jennifer Tilly, etc., etc. I have never even heard of the second movie here. And Afterglow, I'm interested mainly because it's an Oscar nominee. Both films do have a good cast. And this is a good slimmed down way to get two movies that are relatively rare in the wild. So, not bad. It's worth a curiosity, I think. I guess the Oscar nomination, though, does push it up to a yes, please, if only for the Afterglow part.
Okay. What is that beeping sound that comes from your...
There was the oven was beeping.
Oh, okay. That was just curious.
Yeah.
All right. So, I'm going to drag it down to curious.
I figured you might.
All right. All right. One that you're probably going to drag down at least some area.
Maybe.
A Serbian film. And to tell you the truth, this film has such a reputation that I'm having a hard time with thinking about whether I will acquire it or not. It is one of those films that we had never thought was going to get a release here in the United States. It is probably one of the harder to watch films, right along with Cannibal Holocaust. Matter of fact, right down here. I can, from what I have read, there are some really terrible things, like baby rape, torture, mutilation, and a lot of sadistic, terrible things. But you don't really see baby rape that much in film. But, matter of fact, saying it just kind of leaves me feeling, But at the same time, there is just that part of me that looks at this and says, this is important in kind of a way like Cannibal Holocaust is important. Though I would put Cannibal Holocaust in a higher bracket than this. I am so conflicted on it right now. I have to put it in a curious on my end. Cannibal Holocaust would probably be a yes, please. This has some similar reasons for saying I can't say this. Any other film that was like this, I would probably say hell no to. But there's an importance to it that leaves it there. So, yeah.
Well, I agree that the film's reputation makes it a, you might say, notable entry. And I know some people that probably really do want this film. Based on what I know about it, I can say with definitive certainty, hell no, I will not get this movie. I think I can say that with some degree of certainty. Part of me is glad it's getting an American release, but yeah, I have no intent to get it. Okay. So, still courting controversy, but of a different sort. We have a documentary known as Assassins, which, as I understand it, is a documentary about two women who were investigated, shall I say, for murdering the brother of Kim Jong-un in North Korea. Well, the murder supposedly took place in Malaysia, so it's a little different from what I understand. But basically a political hit job, courtesy North Korea, with cover art guaranteed to tick off that country. I know that any sort of film like this that even shows a whiff of censure or criticism for the North Korean government tends to be very controversial in terms of it inflames them more often than not. I'm very curious about this. I saw this and I was like, this looks like one I would want to see. And I'm definitely going to give this, it's one I'm tempted to say yes, please, because it's actually one I really want to see. But I'd never really heard about it before this, so I don't know what its reputation or anything along those lines. It's right on the border between yes, please, and curious. Right. I'll let you decide.
Will it go up or down? Or wait, no, it won't go all the way up here. But let's see. I'll put it into curious.
Okay.
I am curious about it, but again, it might be one I end up watching. If it gets awards love, maybe it'll go up. Well, it'll definitely go up the list if it gets awards love, and I will probably watch it if it gets a nomination. But otherwise, all right.
All right.
So, Blade of the Immortal, the complete collection. So, this is a fairly high-profile samurai series. I'm glad to see it getting a nice Blu-ray release there from Sentai Filmworks. A 24-episode series. Not sure it's worth $58, but hey. Damned to wander the earth in an endless cycle of carnage and murder, the fallen samurai known as Manji seeks the chance to win back his mortality. To do so, he must first balance the deaths weighing against him by slaying 1,000 evil souls, a task that would take even the greatest warriors a lifetime. Well, it looks like an interesting series. I've been curious about it. I know Susan wanted us to watch like a piece of it once when we were trying to do our viewing thing when we did game viewing. But we eventually voted it down because it was like, yeah, you want us to watch like episodes 4, 5, and 6 of it, and I don't know if that would really be, conducive.
Was that this one?
What's that?
Was that this one?
Yes. She'd had like
because it says right there the 2019 adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Have we had any game viewing that recently?
Okay, so I'm thinking the older series. Never mind.
Okay.
There is an older series, so an older anime that's got a reputation. That's what I was confusing it with. But still, this story has a reputation. I am very curious about it. Didn't want to leave it off.
You are right that it has got a reputation, and from what I remember, I want to say it's a rather bloody reputation. I'm somewhat curious about this, but I'm also concerned about the possibility of it being too bloody for my interest. Being a Sentai release of some renown, I will probably have it on my radar. But it's going to be at best a low curious.
Okay.
I think I could leave it at low curious because I'd probably be willing to shell out $7 or $8 for it. Yeah.
Well.
I probably regret that. Now this one has bugged me ever since Shout started advertising it. This is one called Bartender. It's an anime that, frankly, I don't think I'd ever heard of before. But based on the cover art and the way that they've put this package together, it's all classy and shit. It really looks like one I would want to have on this shelf. And I have been going back and forth and back and forth. I've been tempted to pre-order it. But it's $56 from Shout. I'm sure it's a similar price on Right Stuff.
56, yeah.
Yeah. It's very... I cannot make up my mind if I'm going to shell out that price or wait for it to come down. But I want. I don't care if this show is nothing I've ever seen. I look at this and it's like, I want. So I'm going to go priority because I'm considering pre-ordering it.
All right. It definitely has a draw for me. I would love to get that limited edition with the recipe cards.
Right.
I mean, that would be kind of cool, having extra drink recipes. I would love to see this. It's definitely enough I could say a yes, please for. I don't think I could say a priority, though.
Okay.
So, it's definitely on a wish
we were
list.
close. We were close.
Hey, we've had one of them that we had a chance at getting hell no, and one that we've had a chance at getting priority. So hey,
right. And right now the list is giving a middle finger to both ends.
Was that yours or mine? Oh, that was mine.
Right.
Never mind.
That's yours.
All right. So, Born to Be, I believe, is another documentary about one of the first trans clinics. So, again, this is kind of an interesting subject, and a one that we've both come into contact with at least once or twice in the past. And it's good to advocate for the rights of others and to look into these types of things. And this looks to be like I say, it looks to be an interesting thing about just giving people the rights to be who they want to be.
Right.
And I think it's a Kino release, DVD only. And
they've been promoting this one pretty heavily.
They do a decent price for that. It's one that I could see even being up for an Oscar if it was a 2020 release film-wise?
I believe so.
So, with that being said, it might be something that could come up. I mean, this is one of those topics that I could see the Oscars taking a nod to. So, any case, It's one definitely on the radar. It's a very high curious for me. It's still sight unseen. I can't totally say yes please on it, but it's definitely got my eye on it.
Okay. I have to say it is one that I don't know that I really am in a hurry to watch the film. This is something where I as you said, we have we know people where this would be a very, very intimately important thing, and I'm all for it. I don't know that I really would be as interested in watching it, but on the other hand, I might see it and go, holy crap, that was actually very entertaining and informative. So, and if it's one that Kino thinks as much of as they apparently do, that seems like a good sign. If it ends up an Oscar contender, it will be bumped up to a higher bracket. But right now, I'm going to say Curious.
All right. We're definitely on the Curious train today.
Yep. And speaking of curiosities, but probably of a very different sort, we have a fantastic double feature. A Mexican genre classics in English with The Batwoman and Panther Women, The Panther Women. A couple of old school luchadora films, if I'm not much mistaken, where the Batwoman is basically a Mexican gender-swapped rip-off version of Batman as a luchador film, if I understand correctly. And the Panther Women is sort of like about a group of like cultists or whatever, and I don't know that I had known of these films before. I may have heard about them in passing. I know some of the people in our group quite enjoy this kind of film. I look at this and go, I want that on my shelf. I don't know why, but I do. It looks bad, but it looks amusing, like, I don't know. This is in stark contrast to the last one we were talking about. This is more of a throwback to an era where political correctness was not the same. But this is a nice, compact way to get a couple of old movies that are rare in the wild. I am definitely curious. I'm borderline yes, please on this, but I probably can't in good conscience go above curious.
Yeah, this one has me curious. It's hard to look at that and not be curious. I have to know more before I got to a yes, please.
Right.
So, speaking of Kino, when I had to search the actual site for, in case of emergency. You know what's weird? When I type it in, I get a bunch of Blu-ray cases on Amazon. I was like, okay, not that kind. A case of emergency, huh?
Right.
And all of our country's biggest public health challenges, from COVID-19 to the opioid crisis to gun violence to behavioral health and lack of insurance, collide in emergency departments. Nearly half of all medical care in the U.S. is delivered in an ED, and nurses are on the front lines of that care, addressing our physical and emotional needs and sending us back out into the world. So this is like a documentary of a lot of the nurses and their struggles through the EDs, and I guess you could say it's the real life Grey's Anatomy and ER, except real instead of kind of fake softcore relationships and other things. But I've as somebody who actually works out of an ER, I have to say this definitely fascinates me. I understand, especially the mental health side of it, but I understand the other sides as well. I know the processes. I know how they medically clear people. I know what they do. And it's really cool to see something, especially a documentary that highlights nurses. Because everything on TV, and I mentioned Grey's Anatomy and ER, but Grey's Anatomy, you can barely see a nurse in that series. Shonda Rhimes basically says the only people that work on a case are the doctors. And it's like, no.
No.
Does not reflect reality. So I'm glad to see this.
No.
Nurses need to get more love in the world. And because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give this a yes, please on my end. It may not hold that, but at least I'll put it that way. So
You were there. You had it. There you go.
There you go. And
Now, this may be a weird question, but did we not cover this one a few weeks back?
I don't remember. We may have.
I know we covered a documentary by that director. It may have been a different one, or it may have been that this one got pushed back and got new cover art, because I do not remember that
I
cover
don't remember
art.
the cover art at all.
Yeah. But you are right. This is something that I'm fully, I might have trouble watching some of the scenes. I mean, I've said for sure there are reasons why I don't work in an ER. But it is something that requires, what am I trying to say, deserves a far greater credit than they get. And if it's a well-made documentary, then that's cool too. So since I don't know if it's a well-made documentary, it's hard to say for sure that I would go yes, please, but I'll be generous and say yes, please.
Our contribution to the nurses.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, I mean, you got it right there next to bartender. I mean, that's two very important professions right there. And then right here, we have the independent filmmaker. I mean, so we got a film called Clapboard Jungle, which is a film that has not gotten an extraordinary rating thus far. But it's a film about independent filmmaking. And again, knowing our group, I know that most of them have gotten their feet wet in that business at some point or another, and it's something that is very interesting to me. Very, even if it's a so-so film, I think it would be worth one viewing at least. So I'm going to go with a strong curious on this one.
All right. Yeah. Definitely very high curious on this as well. The subject matter. We actually had and by the way, we had a lot of crossover in our interest this week, which doesn't always happen.
Right.
This is another one of those. Matter of fact, I can say so far, out of the ones we've covered, not a Serbian film, but I think the vast majority of these, except for that one and Blade the Immortal, were ones that were on both lists. Well, not this one. But yeah. And this one was, definitely on my list as well. So, curious indeed. To be sure.
To be sure.
So, this is one that I'm sure was a big one when you were a child.
Oh, yeah.
And it came out around the time I was still fairly young. Let's see. What year was it?
Well, yeah, fairly young. 96, I believe.
Yeah, so I was a teenager when it came out. I still remember it, and remember it fairly fondly. This is Casper. Bill Pullman, Christina Ricci. And I guess it's kind of a re-release. I'm not really sure that there's a lot more to this than the previous Blu-ray release, which I bought. Okay,
so it did have a previous Blu-ray? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, there was a previous one. Matter of fact, here's the June 4th, 2000. Well, that's the, not that one. I have one. I do have another Blu-ray release. There we go.
Right.
The only difference between these two releases, the earlier one and the current one, is that for the same price, the old one had DVD and Blu-ray, and the new one just has the Blu-ray. So, it's just... there you go. Same special features, same everything. I think we're going to see a few of those this time around.
It's a good starter price, though.
Yeah, it's a good film. It's enjoyable. I think it is a classic.
It's a very enjoyable film. I mean, it's a family film. It's family, and it does occasionally do that silly stuff to appeal to kids kind of humor, but it holds up surprisingly well for, I think, people of different ages.
Though Casper, as an adult, Casper comes across as a little bit creepier in the way he stalks Christina Ricci's character. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one's one that if I didn't have it, I would probably have it on my wish list. So I would have it as a yes, please.
I think I can agree with that.
Yeah, it's not one I would say, oh, I need to pay top dollar for, but
Right.
It's definitely one that would be on that list of classics. I think anybody
Right.
should have this in their collection.
Right.
All right.
So the next up, we have The Climb, which is written and produced, if I remember correctly, co-written and produced, I believe, by both the stars, Kyle Marvin and Michael Covino, directed by Covino, and I believe it stars both of them, and I did not know George Wendt was in that. Norm!
And there's a special short. There's a short film also. They don't title
Oh,
it.
nice. Very
There's
cool.
one there, original short film and special features.
That's always a nice bonus. But basically, it's about a couple of friends who are on a bike tour of Europe, if I remember correctly. And it's sort of one of those kind of friendship dramedies where it's like they're kind of just talking, and it's, from what I understand, it's probably artsy, but it's supposed to be funny. It did make a few year-end best of lists for 2020. I don't know if it's an awards contender, but there are people calling it one of the big films of the year. I do want to see it. I am curious about it, because I don't know if it will be an Oscar nominee, and it probably won't be. I'm probably not going to push it up to yes, please territory, but I'm definitely solidly curious.
I'm curious. It could be good. It might not be good. I don't know. But one day maybe. And if it is nominated, I'll probably make extra effort to see it. One positive, if you can think of positive for 2020, the likelihood that all of the Oscar-nominated films are going to be available, or at least the main ones anyway, on streaming of one form or another is fairly high.
Not all. Not all. I think it's going to be closer to 80-85%.
I think
but that's still not bad.
I mean, I think the majority, like the documentaries and the foreign films, probably not. And
some of
maybe one or two of the late releases, but most of those are not releasing theaters only, which is the because I don't know if has there been any 2020 films that are not out right now on streaming that are theater only releases right now that are refusing to do any type of streaming or physical right now?
I'm not sure about that. I think I know there are some late arrivals that bowed in theaters at the end, but I don't know offhand if any of them are not doing streaming. There may be a couple that aren't yet, but
I think there's a better likelihood that they will.
I know a lot of the early releases are now out on physical and may or may not be on streaming.
Yeah. Because a lot of the times, if they're releasing theater only, they're doing it only for the award, because they're not doing it to make money. Because you can't really make money in theaters right now. Not very well.
Not very well, no.
That's why a lot of these people are going to streaming either early or they're going like concurrent, which is pissing off the theaters. But, theaters can't pack them in right now anyway.
Right.
All right, so we've got The Curious Dr. Hump.
Oh.
So this is one that just looked fun to me. It's about this kind of monstrous guy who captures other people and fucks them up pretty much. Look at the beauty of that makeup job right there.
Oh, lovely.
You can see that detail on that, on the gloves and the mask there, and of course how he kind of like screws over other people. See, he's playing like his little guitar right here. So you see, he's just this interesting creature. I don't know what it is about this film, but it just made me very curious about this. I looked at it, and I looked at the pictures, and I listened to it. It's not particularly bloody or gory. It's just one of those kind of cheesy horror films.
Yeah. It looks like it's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I almost put it on my list. I thought about it.
So, for me, this is a curious just because it's, I like those types of movies generally, so I figure I'd like it. I'm not going to say yes, please, a priority for it because I don't know much about it, but it's enough to get me curious.
Well, it's right there in the title. It's The Curious Dr. Who. But yeah, I'm curious about it. I'll give it that.
All right.
Okay, next up we have Dreamland, which I guess is getting I guess it is getting a Blu-ray as well. Film that stars Finn Cole and Margot Robbie, and in this one, a love story set amidst America's struggle during the Great Depression. Eugene Evans dreams of escaping his small Texas town when he discovers a wounded fugitive bank robber, Allison Wells, hiding closer than he could ever imagine. Torn between claiming the bounty for her capture and his growing attraction to the seductive criminal, nothing is as it seems. And so this one... It looks interesting. Robbie is pretty awesome, and I've seen her do a role before that I think could be considered similar in ways to this, but it looks intriguing. It doesn't look like anything that I would have to rush out to get.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm necessarily going yes, please, but I am definitely curious.
I am on the curious end. Robbie is a great actress, and it looks like a Bonnie and Clyde story. I mean, I can be up for a Bonnie and Clyde story every once in a while.
Right.
All right, moving on up to Bamboo Girl Part 2.
All right.
Otherwise known as Demon Slayer. As you can see, our star is right here on the front cover.
Yeah.
As she fights her ever-growing battle to gain popularity as a meme-tress. Now she works together with Quilt Boy and Man Bear Pig to right wrongs and to gain internet stardom. Well, in all seriousness, though, Demon Slayer is one that has taken the world by storm last year. It was very well liked. The #1 film in Japan. The Demon Slayer movie overtook Your Name in Japan. So it is something...
Did it?
Yes.
Wow.
So this is one of those things that is a phenomenon, and I have part 1. I got it relatively cheap. I want to get part 2, and this is the Funimation release. There is a there is an Aniplex release. I wish it was a Sentai release of this that you can pay like $100 for. But this one, I'm not sure I want to pay $48 just yet for, but I am going to be watching this like a hawk because I don't want it to go out of print. I don't think it will. It's Funimation. It's a pretty big title. I can't imagine Funimation shooting themselves in the foot.
Not to mention that in 3 months we'll see a complete series release, and the next week we'll see a classics release.
It depends on the series. Like, we have yet to see a complete season 1 release of Fruits Basket. We talked about that last week.
Well, yeah,
so
true.
And it's been a while since season 1. It's been over the 3-month at least.
I did see someone was apparently trying to sell one of those limited sets for $1,500 on eBay.
No, thank you. See, $129 if you want to get the limited for this.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, like I said, because I can't really, I'm kind of willing to wait for it, but at the same time, I'm really on the borderline between priority and yes, please. I'm probably going to go ahead and go down to yes, please, because I will be waiting on this. But it is a high priority title, so probably if it goes down to 30 or a little bit under that, I'll probably spring on it.
I think I had previously gone curious with this series, and to be honest, I am not going yes please on the split season release. I have no desire to buy it piecemeal, but at this point I will snap it up if I get a good price on the complete series. So I don't know. What do you think? Does that warrant yes please, or is it better and curious?
Well, if anything, it's got your eye. You've got your eye on the series itself.
Right.
So
I do intend to get it, so we'll say yes, please. We'll be nice.
Because it is more than just like, it's not, you kind of got one eye on it. It might be only one, but you got an eye on it.
Right. And believe me, if I can find the Aniplex release for that price, I'll buy it. Okay, Gangbusters. This is an old serial, apparently. Huh. An old school serial from back in the day. 13 chapter. When did this come out? This is definitely back in the day. Vci Cliffhanger Collection. 1942. Okay. So an old school radio serial. The city is terrorized by a crime wave, masterminded by the elusive, soft-spoken Professor Mortis from his base in a forgotten cavern beneath the rails of the city's subway line. Following the murder of his brother, police detective Bill Bannister, his partner Tim Nolan, and police chief Martin O'Brien focus investigation on the activities of Mortis and his gang in 13 episodes. And that sure does sound like a 1940s serial, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
It sounds interesting. I'm not a big collector of these, but I probably should start. They are an interesting piece of entertainment history, and it might be worth picking up. But it's you get a pretty decent bang. I was going to say you get a decent bang for your buck, but I don't see a price here. Do you know how much they are?
Barnes & Nobles is selling it for $24.99.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll give it a curious.
All right. I've got at least one because I've got the Batman serials,
Right.
which I got for like $5. But I could stay with curious on that. History is kind of cool of you on those methods. So one that is only released on Disney Movie Club, and I turned this down recently because I have all 3 of these on Blu-ray. But there's also a 4K version for $10 more. You can get the 3-movie collection of Moana, Tangled, and The Little Mermaid. Now you can get it on Blu-ray DVD combo pack for $20, which is not a bad deal. Those 3 movies would go normally back in the day before Disney did streaming. Disney would have sold them for $20 a piece, and you would have never gone below that. So again, that's pretty good. I think Disney is moving towards making these value packs since moving towards streaming. They're kind of going away from their physical media side, so they're kind of looking into it, they're leaning more heavily into the Disney Movie Club exclusives than they used to, which is kind of cool. Though you would see some pretty cool special editions that were only available. I don't mind being a member. It does irk me if I forget and they send me something. But, you get some free stuff. You get some really low-priced stuff. You get that 50% buy one, get one 50% off, which has been a pretty good deal over the years. And I have a feeling that as Disney is starting to discount more and more of their movies on physical, I think that you're going to see better deals before they decide to cut off physical completely, which I hope they don't do for a long time, if ever. But as they're moving towards that, I think we're going to see some really good deals. So it might be worth joining Disney Movie Club. Just keep in mind, you got an obligation to buy. And once you're finished paying off your obligation, then you have to make sure that you keep up every month. Now,
and also, if anyone joins after listening to our podcast, they should say that we referred them so we can get the free stuff.
Exactly. So, it's a. I think you guys will enjoy that if you haven't joined it. If you like Disney movies, you like physical media, and a lot of the times when I would fulfill mine, it would be during a 50 or 60% off sale. So I would get like a one full price, which added towards my must. Then I'd get a whole bunch of stuff 60% off, and that wasn't that bad. I got a lot of my Marvel titles that way. But for this, if I did not own these at all, it would be a priority. Because all three of those are priority films. And Blu-ray or 4K, those would be Blu-ray or 4K films. So to me, it would be a priority piece.
Right.
I have all three, so it's not a priority technically, but it would be if I didn't.
And same here. I have all three already. I actually have Moana on Steelbook, so I definitely have no need to get rid of that edition. But these are all three essentials. Little Mermaid basically started the Disney Renaissance, as it were, in the late 80s to the 90s. Moana is one of the best films they've put out, and Tangled is one of their more underrated films, I think. They're an odd pairing. The three of these is kind of an odd choice to pair them, but, whatever. You're right. If I didn't already have them, I would prioritize getting them.
I imagine it's space saved, too.
I was going to say, it's a nice space saver. So I'll go with priority on that. I think that works.
And $20 is good.
The fact that it's a movie club exclusive, too, is kind of cool,
I mean, that's kind of cool. A little bit of collectible there. And like I say, 3 Disney movies like that on Blu-ray, DVD combo pack for $20. Hard to beat.
Yeah.
Well, enough of tooting Disney's horn.
Yes, they got enough people tooting their horn. Next up, we have another film from Disney, for kids. Not at all. We have M. Night Shyamalan's Glass, which is the direct sequel to Split and the indirect sequel to Unbreakable, and the one that supposedly tied them all together. And it's a film that is much better paced than either of its predecessors. It's a little bit more entertaining in a lot of ways, but it does have at least 2 major knocks against it. The big twists that are known for Shyamalan films. You kind of already know where the story's going. There is a twist, but it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
And also, it was very disappointing to me, very, very disappointing to me, that Anya Taylor-Joy's character, who is a holdover from Split, is apparently suffering from a pretty raging case of Stockholm Syndrome. And that kind of bugged me a little bit. But overall, it's not a bad film. I don't know the particular point of this re-release. I don't know if it's all that different at all. You said you didn't see anything.
No,
really?
I really think it's one of the... Because there is a Blu-ray release, and
Right.
there's no real difference in special features. My
Right.
guess is it's... Either they took a DVD Blu-ray combo pack and just made it a Blu-ray, or they are just trying to, throw more out into the market.
Right. I think that's probably more the latter. Now, this is one. If they come up with a nice collectible 3-pack of Unbreakable split in glass, I might have to jump on that because I don't have glass and I have Unbreakable on DVD.
Yeah.
But as it stands, I cannot really call this an essential film, but it's tempting because for all its flaws, all 3 of these movies, for all their flaws, are still pretty fascinating movies. They are among Shyamalan's best. So it's right on the border between Curious and Yes Please. Again, I'm going to cheat and let you pick which one to give it, but
because because Split and Unbreakable are kind of Yes Pleases, I'll go ahead and put this on here for
okay.
that.
Okay.
Because actually, Split's one I'd almost consider a priority.
It was a good one.
So, and I looked it up. Okay, so if you wanted to get it on 4K with the Blu-ray and the digital, it's $14.99. If you wanted to get the Blu-ray DVD combo pack with the same special features, it's $7. So, if you want to get an edition without that pesky DVD or digital, then add $2 to your thing.
Okay.
Not sure
that makes sense.
Not sure it's worth that to me, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we get a power up as we go back into the Z. And thank goodness this will be close to the end. I think next time we'll be finishing out the series because I think it's only 8 seasons in Dragon Ball Z.
Really? I thought it was more than that.
Wait, 9. 9. One more than I thought.
9.
So only 3 more seasons to go with this. And movies. Maybe they'll put the movies in like a big steel.
You got 6 and 7 this week, right?
Yep. So, of course, here's 6. And this is, I think, the Cell Saga. You can see Mr. Satan here on the little back picture here. And no Mr. Satan on the DVD art. That's having blue art. So if you want your Dragon Ball Z, there's Piccolo on this one. In your if you want your Dragon Ball Z in Steelbook, this would be the way to go. And of course, season 7 is when they start the Majin Buu saga. Where they kind of move in the future, and you got the Great Saiyaman, and it's an enjoyable thing. But the last few seasons are like 7. Okay, so 2 more, 7, 8, 9. This one, 8 and 9 are the Majin Buu saga, where it's really the last major saga of Z. So yeah. It's kind of cool to have them that way. I would almost do this to get them compact, but I'm not paying $44.99 for.
Yeah.
I consider Dragon Ball Z an essential series to have. So I'll put these up as a yes please on my end. They may get lowered down on your end, but yeah, definitely it would be a yes please if I didn't have it.
I have to admit that I still have yet to watch an episode of the series. I've only seen the movies, the last couple of movies of Z. But for multiple reasons, I do know this is one I will have to tackle eventually. And I know that it's an important, informative anime for many, 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 many people. So it's an essential in the collection. I don't yet have it, and Steelbook would be a hell of a way to get it. But you're right, that's way too much to pay. So I'm definitely not going to prioritize it. But it's a good solid yes, please.
Yeah, definitely a good wish list. You never know, they might go on
Right,
sale.
right.
All right.
So next up we have Homefront, which features Jason Statham, James Franco, Winona Ryder, and Kate Bosworth.
Really?
And directed by Gary Fleder. And the main reason I had to put this on my list is that it was produced and I believe written by Sylvester Stallone. And that pedigree just fascinates me. I have very little hope that I will consider this a great film. I probably won't, but I'm intrigued. And that intriguing nature of it is enough to give me a curious.
I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a curious myself, though I'm very close to a meh. Low curious, very low curious. All right. Moving on. The Friendliest Town. Now, this one's an interesting piece about.
I've done a lot of documentaries this week,
and not a bad price for this one. I mean, $17 is not a terrible price to start. It's better than some of these that are $45. This one is about a kind of a change in policing and an alternative way of doing it. And I always find anything that likes to go in the kind of contrary to what people would normally think has to be done is worth a look. And this one intrigued me when I read the description. I would encourage all of you to just take a look at this and see what you think for yourself. I'm not going to dive into it because I don't want to dive into politics too much if I get too deep. And Lord knows we've had enough of that.
Lord knows.
So this one is a high curious for me.
I am definitely curious about this myself. I had not heard about it previously, but I looked at the synopsis and I was like, I think I'll have to see that. And if it is a good one, it could end up being an awards contender. So
that actually might be. Yeah, if it's done well enough, that topic right there.
Yeah.
That one is the one on the trans. That one, and even in case of emergency, on top of that, if that one is done well, all of those could be awards contenders, in my opinion.
So next up we have returning to Korea for a bit, a film I don't think I had ever heard of before, but I saw this and immediately said, yes, please. It's a film called JSA, Joint Security Area, getting a nice looking addition from Arrow. Obviously, as you can probably guess from the title, it's a military drama set in the JSA region between North and South Korea and directed by Park Chan-wook, the director behind The Handmaiden, Thirst, and the Vengeance trilogy. And that right there got my attention. Unfortunately, this is an Arrow UK release that, from what I can tell, may or may not play here. I looked at Arrow's site and could find nothing that would let me know that it would play here. Did you find anything different?
The only thing I can think of is if it... because there's definitely... I don't know whether it would be considered a Region B or not here because...
It's listed on Arrow as Region B.
But again, that could just be the because this is on Amazon here.
Right.
Now, does your picture on Arrow actually have the little circle for a rating? You know which one I'm
I think it did, yeah. So this one doesn't.
Yeah, so there might be an American release. Because if you go directly to Arrow's site,
go down to the stats on Amazon's site. Let's see if it says. I don't think it says.
Like I say, I don't know. It's worth taking a shot at sometimes. If you really want it.
Right.
There is another release of this coming out as well on a Blu-ray.
Right.
There's not much on it right now, but it is another release.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can get through Amazon for a similar price. It'd be a non-Arrow release.
Mm-hmm.
So you could still, in theory...
There's a different country. There's a different vendor putting it out.
Let me see here. Let me look it up real quick, because it's real easy, because it's the one without the cover.
The one without the cover.
Yep, right here. So, this one is, as you can see, the vendor is Korean.
It still says Arrow.
So it must be it's a regular.
Okay, but that does say Region A.
So there you go. So because Arrow does do concurrent releases, and I can't imagine they would be doing like a Region B only release.
I can imagine it. They do that a lot.
Or not ones that they do, but yeah, even on this one it says Region A. So this is probably a Arrow USA, and you might, if you're looking it up, I think Arrow does have a United States webpage for their US releases, so you might try checking there, because if you're under Arrow UK, they're all going to be Region B.
Well, that's the website I've found. I have not found one that's specifically US, so you'll have to let me know the link, but it's difficult to look that company up sometimes. But anyway, point being, JSA is very much a yes, please for me, if only because it's Park Chan-wook. But also, it looks cool, and I want to add to my Arrow collection for when I do have a region-free player.
I'll be nice and say yes, please. It's definitely on the border-wise. So, moving on. Kitty Mamas! The cat's out of the womb. Basically, it's some sort of... It's an interesting concept. A disgraced, kind-hearted fertility doctor, Dr. William Hahn, embarks on a breakthrough clinical trial which 4 women give birth to kittens. Ooh.
Yeah.
So let's see, and they all talk about like the women and their different interests. I don't know whether this is disturbing or interesting. Or maybe a little bit of both, but, look at the cute little kitty.
Yeah, I don't know either. I saw that and I was like, that is a weird concept.
So, that has me curious, but not beyond curious.
I'm going to go with the curious, definitely.
All right, moving on.
Next up, we have Martin Eden, which is a film featuring Luca Marinelli, Jessica Cresci, and Carlo Cecchi. This is a Kino Lorber release. It's based on a novel by Jack London, but it's apparently an Italian setting. And I don't really know a great deal about the film, but this one also was making some best of lists, and it looks interesting enough. It doesn't look like one that I would rush to get, but I'm definitely very curious about it.
Right next to the Kitty Mamas.
Yeah.
It's a little curious.
Yeah.
It might make it's one I might look at because it might make best foreign film or the list anyway. So
it might make some of the awards, yeah.
But I still have flashbacks to Il Postino. Yeah. So speaking of like really interesting films, Polterheist. Okay. 2 gangsters are given 72 hours to discover the whereabouts of a stash of drug money stolen by their boss. There's only one problem. They just murdered him. Frantic to find the cash, the hapless criminals kidnap a psychic medium and force her to contact the dead gang boss. Unfortunately for them, they only succeed in unleashing an evil spirit bent on revenge. I don't know. The concept seemed entertaining for me. This is one of the ones I did to make up numbers on my side. It looked interesting to me. I like movies like this in a lot of ways. I like supernatural kind of horror movies, and this one is a fun concept. It looks like I would really like it. For me, it's a high curious, but that's just there.
And apparently that one of the screenwriters passed away before the film came out.
Maybe he's haunted.
Yeah, a she, rather.
Okay, yes.
I don't know about this one. The cover art did not turn me on in the least. I'm almost curious, but I'm more inclined to go with a meh.
Well, at least it's not a hell no.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, next up we have Max Cloud, which I think their full title is something more like Max Cloud, and I can't even remember. It's a long title. But anyway, when teen gamer Sarah finds an Easter egg and accidentally opens a portal into her favorite side-scroller, she becomes trapped in a notorious intergalactic prison, home to the galaxy's most dangerous villains. To escape, she must finish the game with a little help from her not-so-savvy friend on the outside, or remain a 16-bit character forever. So, Sword Art Online in space. Well, not quite, but the same basic idea, I guess, in some ways. Just stars Scott Adkins, directed by Martin Owen. I don't know much about this, but it looks fun and it looks interesting. I was kind of joking, but really this type of series is a dime a dozen right now in anime, to the point where people are making plenty of jokes at their expense. You probably don't see as many American films on that, but you do occasionally. Yeah. I mean, Tron comes to mind. You got a couple of...
Isn't there
what's that?
Isn't there
yeah, exactly. Or the current Jumanji games, actually. So similar concept. It looks fun. I'm curious. That's all there is.
I can pretty much say looks fun, curious. Moving on. All right. So there's a couple of John Carpenter films getting 4Ks, which does look interesting. Of course, there's Prince of Darkness, which is a really good film. Has Alice Cooper in it. Has has Donald Pleasance. Really interesting cast. Kind of interesting how they go into this church and they kind of find the essence of evil. Sort of like instead of finding the God particle, they found the devil particle. And it tends to possess people. There's a lot of violence. It is a very intense and well done thriller. I have it on a really cool looking John Carpenter collection. It's cheaply put together, but I love the box art. And so I'm not going to necessarily upgrade to 4K. And I don't know if it's a necessity, but it is a necessity to have it in a collection if you are a horror fan. It's not overly gory. There are some gory parts, but not like over-the-top gory. It just does what it has to do. I would put it at least in a yes please category. I think it's an essential for most to have.
Well, I have, as of this week, developed a very strong gun-shy, a very strong reason, let's say, to be gun-shy about John Carpenter in 4K. Seen Escape from L.A. As a film that probably would not look better on 4K.
It did look good on Blu-ray.
Well, I guess maybe. This does not look like something that would appeal to me, but I acknowledge Carpenter is an important film and an important director, and I I know this film is at least considered notable. So I don't want to go hell no, but I'm going to have to go meh.
That takes it down to a curious. There we are.
Okay. Next up, we have a movie that I think is only getting a DVD release.
Yeah.
Missed Juneteenth, which is a recent movie that, again, was making some year-end best-of lists, or at least mid-year best-of lists, about a woman whose daughter is looking forward to a teen pageant, Miss Juneteenth pageant, which her mother had been in as her own youth. That's really all I know for sure about the story.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. It's not anything that I'm in a rush to see, but it's on my radar, so I'll say curious.
For now, I'm going to say meh. It has no interest to me whatsoever. Maybe my wife. But for me, I have no real interest in it. But still, I can see where it would appeal to others. All right. So, speaking of, there's a pretty cool... That is actually a pretty cool... that's a pretty cool cover art for Skyscraper, a re-release of the Dwayne Johnson film. He had starred in a couple of, I think, Andreas and all that.
Wasn't that the original poster?
I think so, but let me see what the cover art looks like on the other Blu-ray release. It's the same one. Yeah. It's another one of those that's more expensive to get sans DVD and digital. So, I guess you're paying to lighten the load. But, it's one that's been on my list of see eventually. I've got kind of an interest in it, but not a must see. It's more of a curious. It's been a curious for me.
I think I did see it, but to be perfectly honest, I can't say that with absolute certainty.
That good, huh?
If memory serves, I think we did see this. I think I enjoyed it. It was not great by any means, and I believe it is supposed to be a loose remake of what's that one? Is it the Tower? Is it Tower Inferno or whatever?
Inferno, yeah.
Towering Inferno. I believe it's supposed to be a loose remake of that.
Which that one is a very good film.
I could be getting my movies mixed up, but it's not known to be high art by any means, but it's entertaining. Most rock films are entertaining, so I can go with curious.
All right, moving on. Moving right
Next
on.
up, we have Mortal Engines, a movie that I believe is based on a series of YA novels, I want to say. And it's directed, it's produced by Peter Jackson and his partner Fran Walsh. I believe Weta's involved in the basic production. The film has not gotten overwhelming praise, but I'm still very curious about it. I've seen it a few times. I don't think this is the first release. I think we've had it at the library.
Yeah, it's had a 4K release in the past, and there was another Blu-ray release on the 12th of March. This might be one of those, one of those that was, Blu-ray, DVD, down to Blu-ray. But at least this time you can say that it's cheaper then.
So if you don't want that pesky DVD, this is your chance.
So what do you think about that?
I want to go curious, because I'm curious,
I am actually going to go with a meh. And that is because this is at the point where I've already got the YA novel burnout. They all have a lot of similarities. It's always about a young woman who is trying to hold her own, Matter of fact, you could probably write almost all of them and pretty much dictate what's going to happen throughout the films, because there's a very similar bent to this. I was really into it at the for the Hunger Games one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, come to think of it, after the Hunger Games one, my interest level just went boom.
So what are you going to do when they inevitably do a movie of the new Hunger Games novel?
I'll probably end up having to get it because I've got the other 3 or 4. Is it 4 or 3? I can't. They usually like to do 4 movies.
There were 4 movies based on the initial series, but I think the new one is a prequel. I think.
Which one of the films was it? The Vci trilogy that was not able to get the funding to get their last 2 or 3.
I don't think it was a trilogy. I think it was a series. You're talking about Divergent.
Yeah.
I think there were 4 in that series, and they couldn't finish it.
Well, they all kind of run into each other for me.
Sometimes.
Speaking of one that kind of runs into each other now, Shudder original called Spiral. This one was very intriguing to me. Same-sex couple moves into a small town so they can enjoy a better quality of life as they raise their 16-year-old daughter. But nothing is as it seems as their picturesque neighborhood. In their picturesque neighborhood, and when they see that the folks next door are throwing a very strange party, being the new family in town suddenly feels extremely dangerous. Now, this one comes across, from what I have read, as a very intense kind of thriller type. Not necessarily a bloody one. It's more of that like psychologically intense, sort of like Get Out, that sort of feel. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it wasn't the. I think I saw a description that likened it to Get Out. It's Hereditary. There you go.
I'm not sure I would like the Hereditary part, but from what I've heard, I mean, this one is a must-watch. So it's on my list. It's very strong in between the curious and the yes please, which I'm sure you will put it in one of those areas, or maybe or here.
I'm honestly going to have to go with meh. That one doesn't interest me all that much.
So I will put it as a yes please, and it'll stay in the middle.
Okay, that works. That works.
All right, moving right along.
What do we got next? Safe Inside. So we have a movie here with Andrea Tivadar, Stephen Brand, Tom Ainsley, directed by Renata Gabrielska. Gravitas Ventures release. I don't really know what to think of this one. My understanding is that it's very trippy and weird and artsy and probably depressing as hell.
And $45.
Well, yeah, well, that's part of the depressing part. I'm seeing a DVD listing here for 15, but I guess the Blu-ray is 45.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one that I'm curious, and that's really where it's at. I'm not trying to rush to get this one. If it gets an awards listing, I'll go for more, but yeah.
Very much meh.
Very much. Okay.
I can't really make it even more than that. It's meh, 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 meh.
No. Okay.
And $45 for the Blu-ray also makes me... it doesn't make that much better.
Right.
All right, so State of Texas versus Melissa. Again, more of these documentaries.
Yes.
Melissa Lucio was the first Hispanic woman sentenced to death in Texas. For 10 years, she has been waiting her fate and now faces her last appeal. So, to me, this kind of has that... what was that one? It was an Oscar-winning film about the kid who was going to be sentenced to death, but got to be but managed to get off of it when they found him innocent. I don't know if she's innocent, but a lot of this in today's Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It looks interesting to me, and politically, it kind of it hits me in the right spots. It is a really strong curious for me.
I'm going to go curious. I almost put this on my list. I was curious. Okay.
So there you go.
We have Slapshot, an old Paul Newman starring sports comedy about hockey. And, you know, that's a whole bunch of words that I wouldn't necessarily usually put together. But I don't know that I care too much about this. George Roy Hill directing. That's pretty cool. Martin Strother's in there. Lindsay Krause. It's a film that I feel like I've known about for many years and never bothered to watch. But I feel like it's on that list of I'll get to it one day, if only because it's a Paul Newman film. I definitely have enough background on this one to give it a high curious, but I don't think I'm going any further than that.
Yay, sports time! I've seen a hockey movie before. But I've never actually played hockey, so I'll give this my best shot. I think I will go with a possible curious to be nice.
Okay.
All right. So, speaking of interesting and curious films, and one that might actually make higher than meh for you, is the 4K release of the John Carpenter film They Live, with Roddy Piper, the late Roddy Piper, and Keith David. Now, this is an amazing film, and it has a great commentary that lives on today. You ever see the things on the memes where they have the, consume or all of this stuff, those subtle messages? This is the movie that it refers to. When you hear the phrase, I'm here to chew bubble gum and kick ass and I'm all out of bubble gum, that's where that phrase comes from. This is a movie about some aliens that have invaded and kind of disguised themselves, interwoven into our society, and kind of taken care of it. But this guy has gained some special glasses that lets him see the truth. It is a very amazing tale, and one I consider a must. Out of the Carpenter films, it is probably one of his best of all time. And if I did not have this, I would put it as a priority for me. This is a must. This belongs in any collection and every collection. Horror or no. That's right up there. It's right up there with Invasion of the Body Snatchers and incredibly important sci-fi titles, because it's more of a sci-fi than a horror title. It's not really even all that bloody or nasty. It's more of just a kind of action sci-fi. But it is, to me, a spectacular and important film.
Okay. Well, I have to admit, this is one I'm a little torn on. It's one that I know is a very highly rated and well-known film. I've known about this one for many years. The cover art does nothing for me. But I am curious. In the end of the day, I am curious, so I'll go with that.
All right, so that takes it down to a yes, please.
Okay.
And moving along. All right.
Hey, 999. This is a movie that has folks in it. A lot of folks. You got Casey Affleck, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Anthony Mackie, Norman Reedus, Woody Harrelson, and Kate Winslet. I mean, on the cast alone, I gotta see this movie. But this is a movie that came out when I was working at the movie theater, and it was pretty universally panned, and I just never got around to seeing it. I I have no strong desire to see this, but on the other hand, with that cast, I can't write it off. If I were to find this at the Dollar Tree, I would snap it up in a heartbeat. And I would probably even pay a few dollars for it. So I could go low curious for this one.
Yeah, I can agree to that. Woody Harrelson and Norman Reedus kind of boosted up. Casey Affleck could actually take it down a notch for me.
Right.
But yeah, I could. Wait, not me. Here you go.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Our Curious is kind of busting at the seams. All right. So, Toys of Terror. It's sleigh time.
Jeez. Horrible tagline.
Which is why it's on my list. It's another padding film that I got. Actually, matter of fact, my last two here are films I'd used to pad my list. Toys of Terror. Just before Christmas, young Zoe, her brother Franklin, and the family move into a secluded mansion with a dark past. While the adults focus on renovating the place, the bored kids find a toy chest hidden in the attic and are delighted when the toys inside magically come to life. But bizarre events soon begin to take place. Events threaten the family's lives as the special day dawns. With gifts piled under the Christmas tree, body count rises, and the blood starts to flow. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Back in the day, these things scared me to death. Things where toys come to life scared me to death. Movies like Dolls,
Said the White Rabbit.
But, you know, these days they just kind of fascinate me. So I'm willing to give this a curious for me.
Without any more information, honestly, I have to go meh for that one. I might change my vote with more info, but yeah.
All right.
Next up, a movie that was a resounding meh for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And again, I had to think about whether I had seen this one, but I eventually realized that yes, I had. Because again, I have a brother who is very interested in the film, and we eventually saw it. And basically, Your Highness teams the Pineapple Express duo of Danny McBride and James Franco, along with Natalie Portman, of all people, director of Pineapple Express, in a stoner comedy set in medieval times. And it's not great cinema. Don't go into it expecting great cinema.
No.
And it's nowhere near as entertaining as Pineapple Express was. But it's still fun in its goofy sort of way. It's worth a watch. I would give it a curious.
Okay, so I don't say this very often on this channel.
Mm-hmm.
As you can tell, even though I do give miss, I rarely go below that. This is one of those things. I have seen it. I hate this film. I will never watch it again. So it is a hell no for me, which will take this down to a meh.
All right.
It is proof that you can have a great cast and an awesome director, and you can come out with something that is what I consider garbage. Note I said what I consider. And you see what I like, so if I'm considering it garbage, that you gotta wonder.
You gotta wonder, yeah.
All right. And that would be your turn. Actually, no, it's my turn. All right, so the last filler title is Village in the Woods. Now, this looks like just some kind of cutesy, creepy tale, almost like a BBC-type production. Right. And let's see here. Every village, every person has a secret. none more so than the inhabitants of an isolated, murky village whose fate relies on the luring of two unsuspecting pawns to satisfy their appetite and determine their being. Again, not much to go on with this. It looks like a kind of more of a slower, haunting tale. I don't know much about it, but it looked like something that would pique my curiosity, so I put as a little curious.
I have to say, without more information, this to me is almost the epitome of a nah.
All right.
I mean, without any more information, it's eh. Okay, and our last one, we are ending with a film courtesy Criterion. It's called Rolling Thunder Review, a Bob Dylan story by Martin Scorsese. It's a film that came out, I believe, in 2019. And it's a per Criterion. In 1975, in an America defined by both the self-mythologizing pomp of the upcoming bicentennial and ongoing socio-political turmoil, Bob Dylan and a band of troubadours, including luminaries such as Joan Baez, Allen Ginsberg, and Joni Mitchell, embarked on a now legendary tour known as the Rolling Thunder Review, a freewheeling variety show that was part traveling counterculture carnival, part spiritual pilgrimage. Director Martin Scorsese blends behind-the-scenes archival footage, interviews, and narrative mischief with a magician's sleight of hand into a zeitgeist-defining cultural record that is as much a concert documentary as it is a slippery, chimerical investigation into memory, time, truth, and illusion. At the center of it all is the magnetic Dylan, a sphinx-like philosopher-poet singing with electrifying conviction to the soul of an anxious nation. I do not believe that this has the kind of bonus features I like to see from a Criterion release. It's honestly kind of weak in terms of the bonus features, but this is a documentary that I had heard about, and I'd heard good things about it. And I do love me a good concert doc. I love a good music doc in general. Scorsese has proven himself adept at making such films. And if nothing else, this will be an excellent musical journey. So I am definitely going to give this a yes, please.
So, for me, I was not a big fan of The Last Waltz. It was well done. It's one of those things. There are a lot of films that I can say from the outside that I consider well done films, well put together, and good films, but at the same time say that they're just not for me. I mean, that's just how it is, you know. Sometimes the personality of the person doesn't click with the personality of the film. And to me, like, you know, when it's mostly just filming a concert, I get bored. Because a concert's meant to be there. I have a couple of concerts that have been documented, and I rarely watch them, even when they're by bands I like. I'll watch music videos with a little bit more gusto, because really and truly, and I don't like being around a lot of people, but in many cases, when you're listening to a band live, you really want to be there live to truly get the enjoyment out of it. But that, again, that's me. Don't think I'm attributing it to everybody else. If this is more like that, I would be in the meh level. But because I'm not 100%, and it looks like there might be more to it, I'll put myself...
It straight says in the description, it's not you're not watching just concerts.
Yeah. And again, I don't know what the ratio is. So I'm going to give this more of a curious, and until I know more. I believe that's the phrase we have that has been used is a until I know more, I will give it a curious. So it will not go down to a meh. Like if Last Waltz were to get a Criterion release, I'd probably put it as a meh.
Doesn't it have one?
I don't know. I don't
I think it has one.
Oh, there's a good way to check. Let's see. Last Waltz Criterion. I don't think so.
Maybe not. Okay.
If it does, it's out of print. Which,
Yeah.
it could be one of those that's on Laserdisc.
Hey, it could be. Could be.
So, with that being said, we've got quite a number of things here. A lot of curiosity. Though I am kind of glad that we've got our yes pleases outnumbering our mehs. And we actually have a priority.
Yeah.
We can agree sometimes.
Mouse rules them all.
So with that being said, we've had a couple down here, and there are some interesting ones in this group. I mean, Cleansing Hour looks like one that Jake would put as a hell no.
Yeah.
This Black Dragon one looks like it would be interesting to some of our other folks.
I could have sworn I put Mile 22 on my list, but it's not one I have a strong interest in. But
and again, we don't need anything that has like just a. I almost put Dracula here on it, but it was kind of like again, it was on the I'm on the line, and Battleship is one I was strongly on the line for. So but if you all like it, take a good look. See, this is the other stuff coming out, and we do thank you. It's been a long one, so we will catch you all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.